Hi dear students, hi everyone. This is my 8th class on the chapter Reproduction in Organisms, and I have begun to discuss sexual reproduction, and I have spoken about the different type of animals based upon the duration of lifespan and also based upon the seasonality of breeding in my previous class. Students, in this class I am going to discuss and give you idea about something referred as a reproductive cycle in mammals. So, reproductive cycles in mammals includes two types, menstrual cycle and estrous cycle. Okay, what are we going to discuss today in my class? Students, reproductive cycles in mammals. Two types of cycles are there, menstrual cycle and estrous cycle. Okay, if you want to understand this very clearly, students, you shall know something about the basics of classification of mammals. You know, under the phylum Chordata, you have studied that in your first year PUC. Under the phylum Chordata, there is a class Mammalia. I write it here, class Mammalia. So it is immaterial for me to discuss the characteristic features of mammals here. Class Mammalia is further categorized into 19 orders. 19 orders are there. Okay. Again, I need not give you the details of the orders, but one thing which I need to signify, which I need to mention here, is that out of the 19 orders, order primates is important. The primates, order primates, includes the mammals like human beings, ourselves, monkeys and apes. And primates are those animals in the class Mammalia which are in the higher strata of evolution, highly evolved. They have a large brain size. They have more agility in the body. They can move their body very well. And they show tendency to have an erect posture. In accordance to that, the joints in their body is being modified to have an erect posture. And they have a keen vision, and claws are modified into nails. These are some of the characteristic features, which is not a part of this chapter, of course. And these primates, in their reproductive cycle, I will make you understand what is the reproductive cycle. These primates in the reproductive cycle show a special type of reproductive cycle which is called a menstrual cycle. Okay, primates shows menstrual cycle, right? And all the other mammals, for example, order Rodentia, order Proboscidea, order Lagomorpha, order Chiroptera, bats, mice, rats, deer, sheep, a different kind of mammals are there. All these mammals are simply considered, in the context of our discussion, all these mammals are simply considered as non-primates, right? So, another one reproductive cycle which I have mentioned here, estrous cycle, is seen in non-primates. Okay, is that clear? Reproductive cycles, two types are there, menstrual cycle and estrous cycle. The menstrual cycle is seen in case of primates like humans, monkeys and apes, and estrous cycle is seen in non-primates like a horse, deer, sheep, tiger, so on. What is actually this reproductive cycle? You know what is reproduction? Production of young ones of its own kind is the reproduction. What is actually the reproductive cycle? Students, if you want to understand this reproductive cycle, you need to understand about, you need to know some basic aspects about the reproductive structure of the female mammals. And we will not be able to consider all the reproductive structures of all the mammals concerned here. It's impossible. But I take an example of human female reproductive system as because it is related to our syllabus. We are going to study the human female reproductive structure as well male reproductive structure in the chapter human reproduction. So for time being, To make you understand just this difference between menstrual cycle and estrous cycle, I am going to consider the human female reproductive system. I'll draw the diagram. Okay. Students, any reproductive system of any organism concerned, though they show a lot of variations from plants to animals, but the basic process of sexual reproduction is remarkably same. Male produces male gamete and female produces female gamete always. And this male and female gamete will fuse with each other to produce zygote. The zygote undergoes development by the process of cell division, mitotic cell division, that results in the formation of tissue, organs, organ system, and finally the young one, right? So if it is to be a reproductive system, to that matter, a reproductive system should have a facility to produce the gametes. And I have told you in my previous classes, the sex organs like a testis in male and ovary in female is responsible for the production of gametes. Here in case of female reproductive system of human being, there are pair of ovaries for the production of ova, right? And you know that in case of mammals, human beings, development is internal, fertilization and development is internal, right? So there should be a facility for the transfer of male gamete sperm into the body of the female gamete, right? And the female individual should have a reproductive structure through which it can receive the male gamete, the sperm. As well, there should be a place in the reproductive system where the fertilization take place. And then there should also be a place for the embryonic development. As because the development of the embryo take place in the body of the mother, female individual. So all these facilities have to be there in the reproductive system. And in addition to that, there should be a system, a physiological setup in the body so as to control all these activities. Right after the birth of the baby, mother has to provide milk to the young one. And at the time of the reproduction, the ova has to develop. At the point of the beginning of the ova has to develop. Fertilization has to take place. After fertilization, fertilized ovum has to get attached to the wall of uterus, a pouch where a development of the embryo take place. All this has to happen. So all of these structures, ovaries, a tube to transfer ova into the place where embryo develops, the uterus, a part which receives the sperm, all this togetherly is simply referred as reproductive system. And the activities in all these reproductive structures, a part of the reproductive system is perfectly coordinated to each other. And what is that which brings about this coordination? And you know that they are the hormones. So let me write the structure of human female reproductive system. Okay. Students, I told you that a pair of ovaries will be there. I will write that later on. And I told you that there will be a presence of a pouch-like structure in which there is a development of the embryo. You see, this is the structure where embryonic development take place, right? And here you see there is a duct which will carry the ovum, and then embryo to this place. This is the duct of the reproductive system. We call that as a fallopian tube. Here there is an enlarged part will be there, what we call as an ampulla. All these things you are going to study in detail in the chapter human reproduction, right? Okay. So here you see, and I do not go to label and give the details of the structure of human female reproductive system here. I will give you those points which are just enough for me to make you understand the topic which I am discussing in this class. These are the pair of ovaries, right? And in addition to that, you know, the uterus is a structure where the development of an embryo take place as well. It also has to have a facility so as to push the completely developed embryo outside during the time of the birth, right? So here there is a presence of a layer. This is the layer. which is made up of a smooth muscles. Okay, this is the layer made up of a smooth muscles, which helps for the contraction of uterus at the time of childbirth, right? Okay, so this is the basic structure of the wall of the uterus. This outermost layer, we call this as a perimetrium, and the muscular layer, we call this as a myometrium, right? And this is referred as a cervix, it's a vaginal canal. This is a fallopian tube. So this is the ovary. Okay. So at the time of reproduction, the first event during the time of reproduction is that the formation of gametes. The female gamete here is ova. A ovum, a single egg, is formed from one of the ovary in a sexually mature, reproductively active female. In a sexually mature, reproductively active female who is not pregnant. The lady who is already pregnant, ovum is not produced. Already embryo is there inside, here in this point. But in sexually mature, reproductively active, non-pregnant female, one of the ovary will start to produce ova. Ovum will already be there inside, and you will study that. This ovum which is already there, which is a result of the meiosis, which is already there, will start to undergo enlargement. Okay? So to bring about the enlargement of the ovum, which is already there in the ovary, there is a requirement of a hormone by the name follicle stimulating hormone. Okay? What is the hormone? Follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone. It is also simply referred as a FSH. This follicle stimulating hormone is produced by an endocrine gland, a master endocrine gland, which is referred as a pituitary gland. This is the pituitary. It is present in the brain. And this pituitary gland produces follicle stimulating hormone. This follicle stimulating hormone influences the ovary. It is carried through the blood. It influences the ovary for the development of the ovum. So let me consider inside the ovary, there is a presence of a cell. It is a ovum. It has to enlarge in its size before it is released to take part in the process of fertilization. So if it has to enlarge, what has to happen? The cytoplasmic content of the ovum has to increase. So in order to increase the cytoplasmic content, the cells present in the ovary, they surround the developing ovum. These cells which surrounds the developing ovum will synthesize the cytoplasm, and it is transferred into the ovum, so that the size of the ovum increases, right? And these cells which surrounds the developing ovum, we call them as a follicular cells. And with the enlargement of the ovum during the time of the development, okay, there is a formation of a blister-like projection like this, right? Blister-like projection over the surface of the ovary like this. And now we call this as a follicle, Graafian follicle. That's why it is called as a follicle stimulating hormone. It's a follicle. And the cells which surrounds the ovum, they are follicular cells. And students, these follicular cells produce another one hormone by the name estrogen. Follicular cells produces another one hormone by the name estrogen, right? So ovum is developing, it will enlarge in its size, it will become matured, ripened, it is ready to undergo fertilization. At this point, the ovum has to be released outside the ovary, and this has to be carried into this fallopian tube, somewhere where the fertilization has to take place. And meanwhile, this uterus has to be ready in case fertilization takes place. If fertilization take place, if there is a sexual interaction between the male and female, if zygote is formed, this zygote has to begin to develop into embryo, so as to have the tissues and organs. And for that, the zygote has to receive, the embryo has to receive the nourishment from the mother's body. So it has to attach to the wall of the uterus. Okay. So the wall of the uterus, by the time of the fertilization, by the time when the ovum is completely developed, it has to be ready to support the pregnancy, to support the developing embryo. So how it will get itself ready? Okay, so here, alongside the development of the ovum, with the help of the hormone estrogen, the wall of the uterus will, the inner layer, there will be a development of another inner layer in the wall of the uterus, so that it will get ready for the pregnancy. Okay, how? You see, this above the myometrium, there develops, I use this chalk piece, there develops another layer which is highly vascular. Student, what is the meaning of vascular? Anything which is rich in blood circulation, which has got more blood capillaries, we call that as a vascular. Another vascular as well glandular. Okay, more mucus producing glands will be there. Vascular and glandular layer will start to gradually develop under the influence of estrogen, along with the development of the ovum in the ovary. Students, this highly vascular, why it is vascular? It's having more number of blood capillaries. This highly vascular and glandular structure is very important. It is called as endometrium. What is it? Endometrium. I repeat, what's it? Endometrium. Right? Endometrium. Did you understand? This endometrium will facilitate the attachment of the embryo into the wall of the uterus, and the embryo will connect to the uterus through a structure called as a placenta. So we call ourselves as a placental mammals. We have a placenta, a connection from the developing embryo to the wall of the uterus. Endometrium is there. Okay, the endometrium is very much required. And students, this endometrium is not a permanent structure. So here, perimetrium is a permanent structure, myometrium is a permanent structure, but the endometrium is not a permanent structure. The development of endometrium take place alongside the development of the ovum. So here, you know the way how estrogen is coordinating the development. The follicle stimulating hormone stimulates the development of the follicle. It's also called a Graafian follicle, and follicular cells produces estrogen, right? And estrogen stimulates the wall of the uterus for the development of the endometrium. As well, it has got many other functions that you are going to study, right? It will influence the development of the endometrium, and now the endometrium is ready. By the time there is a production of another one hormone by the name luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone, it is also referred as a LH. This luteinizing hormone is produced when the Graafian follicle is completely developed, when it is completely matured. And under the influence of luteinizing hormone, this Graafian follicle will rupture. It will break. Graafian follicle will rupture, it will break, and the ova is released. And we call this process as a ovulation. Okay? The follicular cells are also there here surrounding the ova. Right? Now, over the surface of the ovary, a crater-like wound is formed. And we call this as a corpus luteum. It is going to produce another one hormone by the name progesterone. Okay, this corpus luteum produces a hormone progesterone. Now, this ova is sucked by the ciliary action of this fallopian tube, right? Ova comes here. We call this as an ampulla. This is the isthmus. You just remember this point. Ova comes here. And if sexual mating occurs, okay, sexual mating, sexual interaction, sexual intercourse take place. Now what happens? The spermatozoa, sperms are released here. Sperms will migrate through uterine fluid and they reach the point where the ova is present, and fertilization occurs here, and the ovum is transferred. Ovum undergoes a transformation after the fertilization to form a zygote. Ovum undergoes transformation to become a zygote. Now the division of the zygote starts here itself, and it will start to migrate to the uterus cavity proper, and by the time it comes here, it will have formed a hollow ball-like structure which we call as a blastocyst. You need not remember and recall the words which I am telling you, mentioning in this chapter, right? You have to remember what I say here. It's a supporting information for you. So it is called as a blastocyst. This blastocyst has to attach to the wall of the uterus. It will get attached like this. You call that as an implantation, and now there is a formation of a placenta, and you can simply consider that the pregnancy has begun. The woman is pregnant. Okay? Now, the progesterone produced by corpus luteum maintains the endometrium. It is firm, stable, and until the end of the pregnancy, until the time when the embryo is completely developed, corpus luteum will be there, progesterone will be produced, and along with the estrogen, it will maintain the pregnancy. And then there takes birth of the young one. Okay? All complicated events regulated by the hormones. So here, this is something which happens at the time of the formation of the gamete and beginning of the pregnancy. Now, my question is, in case if mating do not take place, if there is no sexual intercourse, then what could happen? That is the question. Okay, let us analyze that, right? So ova has come here, no zygote formation has taken place, no fertilization has occurred, there is no sexual intercourse, no spermatozoa, sperms are not available for the ova here. Now what happens? Right? The ovum is a singular form. Ovum cannot remain viable for many days. Maybe around 24 hours, the ovum will be viable for the fertilization, around that. So later on, what happens? This ovum, when there is no availability of sperm, will come here, and this endometrium now do not have any role to play. Endometrium do not have any role to play. So endometrium gradually, by the time of 10 to 12 days, will start to gradually undergo disintegration. The endometrial tissue will loosen, cells loses their integrity, wall of blood capillaries disintegrate, okay, the blood starts to ooze out, and the tissue debris along with the blood will start to come out of the reproductive opening, which we call as menstrual bleeding. Students, what is this called as? Menstrual bleeding. Right? So in human female and other primates, menstrual bleeding take place. One pregnancy do not happen. Is it clear? Menstrual bleeding take place when pregnancy do not happen. However, quite interestingly, in non-primates, you know what are those non-primates? Deer, donkey, horse, tiger, as per the examples given in your textbook. In non-primates, this endometrium, but structure, shape, size of the uterus will vary. It need not always be like this. For my convenience, I have taken this human female reproductive system. Okay, but the process is same. In non-primates, this endometrium do not disintegrate. There is no menstrual loss of blood. The endometrium is simply reabsorbed, and it will vanish. Reabsorbed. Okay, and this reabsorption of the reabsorption of endometrial lining results in no menstrual bleeding. Menstrual bleeding do not take place because of the reabsorption. This is in case of non-primates. So I'll write it here, no menstrual bleeding. Okay. So I hope that you are also getting the points. You are making out the differences between the menstrual cycle and estrous cycle, right? Menstrual cycle occurs in primates. Estrous cycle occurs in non-primates. Menstrual cycle, there is a menstrual bleeding. Estrous cycle, there is no menstrual bleeding. Is it clear? And another one thing here. Students, reproduction, whichever the type of organism it be, it's a biological motto of the life. The organisms always shows a tendency to continue their generation through the process of reproduction. And you have studied reproduction may be either sexual or asexual. And even I have told you that the sexual reproduction is favored by the nature because of the variations, right? So, animals, mammals here, in order to ensure reproduction, only sexual reproduction is possible here. In order to ensure reproduction, what has to happen? Fertilization has to take place. Male produces sperm and ovum is produced by female. And in order to bring together these gametes, male and female individuals have to come together. And what makes male and female to come together? So it is astonishing, a wonderful phenomenon. Nature has instilled a sexual desire, a sexual drive, tendency to have a sexual intercourse in mammals. Okay? And some of the mammals have got a behavioral pattern which they exhibit during reproductive seasons. I have told you in my previous class, continuous breeders and seasonal breeders. Okay, here, human being, continuous breeder. These non-primates, in the seasonal breeders, what happens during the breeding season, at the time of production of ovum, when it is ready, ovum or ova, when multiple young ones are born, many ova are formed. When the ovum is ready, the female exhibits a sexual behavior, sexual drive, which it do not control. It is irresistible, right? The animals like non-primates shows irresistible sexual urge. Here in case of primates, of course sexual urge is there, desire is there, but that is not irresistible, that can be controlled. That may not be manifested in the form of behavioral patterns. It is under control. So let me write the point like this: no irresistible sexual urge. Okay, so what are the points here? Menstrual cycle occurs in primates, estrous cycle occurs in non-primates. Menstrual cycle, menstrual bleeding; estrous cycle, no menstrual bleeding. Here, no irresistible sexual urge. Here, irresistible sexual urge is there. Okay, students. So we are understanding all these points. In your theory examination, they may ask you to write, like write a note on menstrual cycle, write a note on estrous cycle, what is a reproductive cycle. Yet I have not given you answer for the what is reproductive cycle. I will correlate the explanation what I have given with the definition for the reproductive cycle. Okay. So how many points are there? Point number 1, point number 2, and point number 3. Here also 1, 2, 3. And let me give you another one point here. In this case, in menstrual cycle, endometrium corrodes, sloughed off, and endometrium is shed off. It is released in the form of menstrual bleeding, right? So you can add another one point here. Endometrium is shed off, that it is released in the form of menstrual bleeding. Here endometrium is reabsorbed. Okay, totally 4 points are there. If you find a question like, write the difference between menstrual cycle and estrous cycle, what I have written is the answer for you. This same thing is there in my notes, page number 7. You can go through that. Okay, and then let us find a sentence which gives the, which makes us to understand the meaning of reproductive cycle. So reproductive cycle is a series of events. Reproductive cycle is a series of events occurring in reproductive organs. Okay. Endometrium development takes place in the uterus. Development of ovum takes place in the ovary. There is a release of follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone correspondingly. Okay, and then if fertilization do not take place, there is a menstrual bleeding or a reabsorption of endometrium. So a definite specific sequence of events are taking place in reproductive organs of reproductively active, sexually mature mammalian and non-pregnant females. Okay, in a non-pregnant females. So this cycle, this sequence of events, beginning of the development of the ovum, development of endometrium, waiting for the sperm, if fertilization do not take place, menstrual bleeding, it takes place in the duration of 28 days in human females. Okay, and after 28 days, 29th day, another one cycle, another series of events begin. Okay, and that cycle ends in menstrual bleeding, and another series of sequence begin. They recur. So we call this as a cyclic events, reproductive cycles. So reproductive cycles, or a reproductive cycle is a sequence of events in sexually mature female mammal. Reproductive cycle is a sequence of events in sexually mature, reproductively active, non-pregnant female of mammals. That is the definition for reproductive cycle. Reproductive cycle is of two types: menstrual cycle and estrous cycle. Menstrual cycle is a reproductive cycle which occurs in primates. A series of cyclic changes which occurs in reproductive organs of primates. We call that as a menstrual cycle. It is characterized by following points. And series of sequential events which occurs in reproductive organs of non-primate mammals is a estrous cycle, and it is characterized by following points. 5 to 6 questions can be framed on this topic, students. This is something which you need to remember. You can go through my notes. Very simple. And more than 10 to 15 neat questions, objective questions can be framed